Hey guys, I'm Janet on occasion, and today we are taking a look at a blog post entitled Total War Warhammer 3 Battle Types, Changes and Additions. So I'm a little bit late on this, so a lot of you might have already read this. I'm sure a lot of you have. But, if you want to hear my take on it, or perhaps it's the only place you hear news, then, yeah, great. Also, you should probably pay attention to more news. Anyway, so here we are. Total War. So this blog, I'm pretty sure, exists only because the battle demo for Warhammer 3 was a survival battle, and a bunch of people just went mental, thinking, why have they turned Total War into an RTS? I want my old battles, this sucks. You know, I can't believe they'd get rid of the other battle. They haven't. Like, obviously they haven't done that. So I think this blog exists just for the sake of clarity, and also to sprinkle in some other fun changes for Warhammer 3 as well. That's the stuff we're going to be mostly focusing on, because that stuff sounds great. I want new information, and there is some of that in there, but I'm pretty sure this just existed because of people completely misunderstanding the point of the battle demo, that was a unique battle within the campaign of Warhammer 3, and they're just sprinkled into the normal battles. But, you know, whatever. The internet's going to internet, I guess. So, hello, Ben Barrett. Hello. He's got us a blog post. So, Total War Warhammer 3 is expanding the franchise like never before. Go out with a bang, like a crazy Skaven comet fake, I always say. You shouldn't always say that. Not many people understand what you're talking about. Just gonna put that out there. Anyway, one area that's going to be immediately obvious is battles. We're doing a little bit of everything in Warhammer 3. New types, remixed types, and old favourites. Like the terrible tendrils of corruption from the Northern Wastes, we're going to spend a bit of time going through the lot. Today we'll talk about the basics. Standard battles, quest/story battles, and the newly introduced survival battles. In the future we'll be updating with further information about minor settlements and siege battles, as well as other exciting additions and changes. That's a lot of battles, guys. It's a lot of battles. Also, the fact that they will be doing an update on this for minor settlements and siege battles implies that minor settlement battles and siege battles are going to be different, which is great. I want to hear more details about those, because again, you know, more gameplay variety. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So, for this first version, we spoke with James Martin, battle designer for Total War Warhammer 3, and one of the major forces behind the development and design of survival battles. He gave us the rundown on everything that's changing moving forward. So, standard battles. That's when you get two armies and you smash them together. Yeah. It's my description. Let's see how he describes it. So, but TotalWar.com, you cry, addressing a website as you would a person. Bit odd. What possible changes can you be making to standard battles? Well, disembodied voice of an example reader that I won't be strawmanning any further, we agree they're pretty good. However, as well as 6 new races to throw into one another at breakneck pace, and in any combination, we also have done a few updates. Some of these are overall balance changes, others are back-end updates and make things run smoother, and such result in less bugs and more consistent and fun gameplay. Should be fewer bugs, not less bugs, but I'll allow it. Let's get into it. So, in battle resources, Dark Elf, Greenskin and Tomb King players have long had in-battle resources that allow them to unleash devastating effects based on the progress of the battle, usually to do with how many enemies have been mercilessly cut down. We call these battle currencies. In Warhammer 3, the back end of that system has been upgraded and improved to support the supplies menu of survival battles. Several of the factions in Warhammer 3 will also be making use of it specifically. Over to James. I don't know what James sounds like. I don't know what Ben sounds like, so I don't know if I've been doing the voice right at all. It's just been my voice this whole time. I know. Who'd have guessed? Anyway, in the past, these battle currencies... I'm going to try again. I'm going to assume that James doesn't have a stutter. So, in the past, these battle currencies were hard-coded systems. They were tough to work around in terms of introducing similarly new features. For Warhammer 3, we have now implemented the whole system in a more accessible way to allow all races and battle modes to make use of the same system at the same time as being flexible. Implementing the battle currency in this way has allowed us to use the supplies currency in survival battles whilst remaining separate from the individual faction currencies. It's now a much cleaner system that's easy to use for multiple purposes in battle. The way this has been implemented also means that it is a moddable feature. It's all accessible through the database, so for example a modder could add a currency-related feature to the Empire if they wanted. So this is huge news, because people have done some insane stuff with mods already, adding new systems and things that, shouldn't have even been able to have been added. A lot of the map stuff that people have been adding was, wholly down to modders being ingenious. So the more tools that they have, the more stuff they can play with, and the more ingenious things they could do with, less of a hindrance. And having resources in battle sounds awesome. That leads to a lot of crazy nonsense you could do, where you could have sort of survival battle style game modes custom built by modders. This is how like League of Legends and things. Well, the original Dota was born out of Warcraft 3. It started out as a mod. So the idea that could be something that people can use, have different resources associated with capture points or killing or whatever, and create things out of that sounds amazing. Sounds really cool. So I can't wait to see what people come up with that. But also, it just means there's going to be more flexibility with the potential for introducing new mechanics into the game for the actual developers. So we can see more flexibility there, which sounds great to me. So ability improvements and quality of life changes. While Warhammer 3 isn't going to function completely different to how you'd remember it, we've overhauled a decent amount of back-end code and tweaked a lot of minor systems to improve gameplay and balancing. It's a lot of quality of life stuff. We've gone over every spell type we've got, checking how they work under the hood, making sure they're doing what people are expecting. Lots of small things we've tweaked and fixed, making the system a lot healthier and cleaner, so it's more predictable what's going to happen. It also allows us to do new things. Katarine's Heart of Winter spell is a 4-phased direct damage ability. That's something we can do now. Lots of little improvements that let us do more. This also joins a host of tooltip changes to show more critical information and upgrades to the direct damage and area of effect spell/explosions code. Resistances, knockbacks, and healing should all now function better too. It isn't going to blow your socks off in terms of major upgrades, but it will make the game easier to understand and more responsive, a win all around. This is something that I advocate for constantly. If you guys have watched any of my Let's Plays, I'll constantly point out something where it's like, okay, look at this breakdown of public order. Something just says faction and something says event. What is feeding into what? Like, what does that mean? Give me proper information. Otherwise, don't give me any. Just don't bother giving me any information. If you break it down into a bunch of vague stuff that I can't find the sources for, then what is the point? So, hopefully, if they can break that stuff down better and give more accurate information across the board, brilliant. That is something that I deeply encourage. Three Kingdoms did a much better job of it than Total War Warhammer 2, and I'm only assuming that they're building on that experience to sort of give better information to all of us, because there's some times where it's infuriating when I see something. It's just like, that doesn't tell me anything. Tell me the things. But yeah, it's very dumb. It's very dumb having to chase various menus around just to figure out what's doing what. So yeah, hopefully that will be fixed. So good that it's at least, something they're addressing if they haven't completely addressed it. So single entity wounds and unit size scaling. So this is actually a big deal. This is actually really important, I think, because especially with unit sizes, that's sort of a thing that people set depending on their graphics. If you've got a really rubbish computer, you might actually put the unit sizes down just to be able to handle playing the game. And so for the game to be balanced across multiple sizes like that, you kind of need it. It's just an accessibility thing. So single entity wounds and unit size scaling. Monsters, legendary lords, and big dragons all come under the single entity header in terms of being some of the most unique, interesting, and powerful units on the battlefield. We're making some changes so they retain all the power and heroes of the Warhammer universe, but also have more interesting gameplay attached. The simpler and most impactful of these is the addition of a wounded state, where a single entity will have some stat debuffs as it gets lower on health. Naturally, they can be healed out of this with other effects, but it means that they won't simply have full damage output until they lose their last health point. Multiplayer balancing, as well as ensuring that the large number of single-entity Demon Army units we have coming won't skew things, are the main targets. So that's brilliant, because this is something that was just super broken when the Tomb Kings came out. The Tomb Kings relied on a lot of single-entity units, and it started a trend of monster mashing, which is where you get all the big monsters and you just run them at things, and that thing will die immediately and you can't really do anything because the damage gets spread out across the whole blob and none of them lose effectiveness at all. And, you know, big blob healing spells on all of them, it was a nightmare. You couldn't do anything about it. Whereas here, if you're able to get some good hits onto something, then you're going to debuff it because it'll be wounded, which is really good. So just generally, it avoids that sort of, you know, just blob of stuff, because that's the thing as well with the single models, they have a smaller profile, so you can actually fit a whole army in the space of a single enemy unit. And so it means that only, you know, if it's full stack against full stack, it means that only a 20th of the enemy army is actually involved in the fight. So obviously that is going to lose so horrifically, and you can just go from one unit to the next. So, you know, there are problems there. So I like that they're doing things to address that. That is brilliant. I love that. Very good. So have a house point. That's what we used to get given at school. They didn't mean anything, but they were good. So anyway, on unit size scaling, balance for lower unit sizes, small and medium, was always a little off. So single entities and towers will have their damage lowered, for example. Let's say this tower does 500 damage and your unit has 2000 health on Ultra, says James. If you then play on small unit size and your unit has 500 health, it's going to get one shot. We never balanced around that, now we do. We also now balance the building health, walls and towers, because let's say you have 4 cannons on a unit, whereas on small you only have 1. Before, that 1 cannon had to do the work of 4. So again, this is a big deal that I think is absolutely fantastic, because in campaign I tend to play on Ultra because there's more spectacle in it, and you know, I don't play for balance in campaign. I like the spectacle, I like the world building, I like the big battles and the silliness. But it does mean that things like walls will get shot down really quickly, towers just do less damage, it is easier. Siege battles are just easier on Ultra difficulty, which is kind of weird. I mean, it kind of feels fine, you know, because a tower shoots and it kills a guy each time, but it obviously just has less of an impact. Because of course it would, you know? So, next up, new maps, areas, and art. As you can imagine, with a whole new part of the world, including the vast stretches of the Chaos Wastes, come new maps, with new art and areas and new types of terrain. Compared to what we've had in the past, we've had a lot more freedom to do crazy magic stuff. In the realm of Chaos, there are no rules. It's allowed the artist to do crazier stuff that you can't usually do. I mean, just from the battle demo, Khorne, I'd say, is probably one of the more mundane realms, because it's just like fire and brimstone, done. Right? Some floating rocks and things, which we've seen in Warhammer before, but generally it's quite mundane. But, you know, the realm of Tzeentch, you know, it could be completely mad. So I can't wait. I can't see what, you know, to see what they do, because they can get super imaginative with it. But yeah, I think Khorne is probably the most mundane in terms of battle strategy, presentation, just, you know, it's just Christian hell, you know, jobs are good. So, right, next up, compared to what we've had in the past, oh yeah, nope, hang on. Yep, crazier stuff. Good. Map-wise, we've kept some old maps. Land battle-wise, it's roughly the same. There might be some more hard collision than there was before because the new terrain types are quite hostile. There's a lot more height variation. I like the sound of a lot more height variation because it's certainly Warhammer 1. Warhammer 2 fixed a lot of the problems, but Warhammer 1 was sort of, okay, let's have a map with a hill. Brilliant. And it would just be a gentle slope upwards. One person would start at the bottom of the hill, one at the top. It sucked. And it's kind of awkward to look at because your camera obviously wasn't aligned with the horizon because it was just a big slope, so it just felt a bit weird. And, you know, that was like the hill map. There's no gameplay variety in it. It was really weird. Just a flat plane that they'd move around, and that was the complexity of it. So yeah, more variety in each map would be great. Anyway, so there's been improvements and changes to battle modes. On choke points, there was only ever a maximum of 2 crossings before. It goes up to 3 or 4 now, which sounds a lot better. More sort of ways to flank and things, which sounds good. I know choke points, it's sort of supposed to be, haha, now I can't be flanked because I'm guarding a choke point. But you can still do that, you know. If they're going off to flank a long way around, then you can just charge half their army, right? So there's still pros and cons to that. You're still in a better defensible position if you're the one defending. So it gives you more, it's sort of up to them to move, and you can take advantage of that. So that sounds good. A bit more variety there, which I like to hear, even if it means going the long way around to achieve a tactical advantage. Great, I like that. So ambush battles now have a withdraw feature from Three Kingdoms, where if you get your units to the withdraw point in an ambush battle, you can escape so you're not just instantly killed. This I really like. I didn't make a lot of use of it in Three Kingdoms, honestly, because I found it was very difficult to actually get to the escape point, but you could get a couple of your sort of lords and heroes out there, any of your cavalry, and usually you just have to leave some units behind to keep the enemies busy, which was tense, it added a level of tension and some strategic elements there, you could actually do something about it, right? Which was good. Also, if you're getting ambushed, it's your turn, so if you have a lot of movement points left, then if you get out of that battle, you can just run back to town, provided you have the movement left, provided you weren't at the end of your movement. So it does give you some variety. It's one of those things. It won't impact a lot of battles you have. It'll have no effect on, but those few times that it does, it's going to feel really cool that you managed to get away with the units that you've wanted to save. So I like that. I think that's nice, and I think it's nice they've added that. So auto resolve changes. Now this is a big one. This is a very big one. So big quality of life changes coming to auto resolve. The most notable is that the game will now tell you the predicted result and which units will be lost before hitting the button, as well as in general how many casualties you will be taking. The background processes of what the actual result will be has also been improved. So we made some improvements to our auto test system. This has allowed us to gather better data, so it's going to be much cleaner for the auto resolve to use and for us to balance the wealth of content. We've got a lot more data to go off. It should be cleaner across the board, and we should have less random units that completely skew auto resolve. This is a big deal. This is a very big deal, because having to tweak those things manually is never going to work. You need to be able to collect data for this stuff so you can actually figure out if a player is playing that battle, what units benefit, what is the value of each thing. And for that you need a bunch of data, and you need some algorithm to sort out the value of all of that stuff properly. Just tweaking things up and down yourself, there's obviously going to be problems with that, and it sounds like that's what they were doing before. But the biggest thing is, who cares if auto-resolve is broken as hell if you can actually see the result? One of my biggest pet peeves is being forced to play a battle because I just know that auto-resolve is going to screw me. Now I will know for certain, which will mean I can cut out a few of those times where I figured I'm probably going to lose all my important units if I hit auto-resolve. Now I'll know for certain. I can go, oh, actually, I can do without the units that I'm going to lose if I hit auto-resolve. Because I'm in a recruitment area, I can just re-recruit them. It saves me 20 minutes playing a battle I know I can win anyway, right? So I like that. Because that's why auto-resolve is in the game anyway. It's for convenience. It's so you can skip the battles that you know aren't going to be fun. Or, you've played essentially the same battle again and again a bunch of times, and they just keep sending the same stacks at you, right, over and over again. Auto-resolve just lets you get rid of the tedium and get on with the stuff in the game that you want to do, right? But it wasn't doing that because it wasn't being transparent enough. And so you couldn't really make an informed decision as what you were willing to risk losing. It was always just sort of, I don't know, I hope this unit combination leads to a decent result. Now you'll know. And just that is great in a strategy game, just to have that additional information. Because I'm really bored of quick saving, hitting auto-resolve, and then quick loading, and then having to fight the battle anyway. I'd prefer it just to tell me up front. It just saves time. It doesn't make the game any harder, it's just less tedious. So, or easier for that matter. So, it's good. I love that change. That is a big deal. So, new info overlay options. We've also added a batch of new options to the extra details panel that pops up when you hold spacebar in battle. You've got the occlusion outlines. If you've got a load of men hiding in a forest, you can toggle this on, and you get a green outline around the units so you can see where they are through the foliage. This is a big deal as well. I'm really bored of in forest battles having to zoom right in just so the trees disappear, so I can actually see what the heck is going on. I find it really tedious because, again, it doesn't really make the game harder, because if you can't really see, it's not really a strategy thing so much as an eyesight thing, and I don't think the game's difficulty should be balanced along how good your eyes are. That just seems a weird way to balance a game to me. So, you know, if a unit's in a tree, then they're hidden, and it doesn't matter how much you zoom in, they are just invisible, the units. But it's when you have a bunch of stuff in a tree, you know, in a forest, and you're supposed to be able to see everything. Your army has discovered all the enemy units, but you still can't see the ruddy things. It's just annoying. I mean, you could just pause and do all the commands, so again, you know, it just feels a bit silly. So I like that. I like that a heck of a lot. Okay? I'm getting older. This stuff is useful to me. So, anyway, we've got a few other options in the menu to give people even more control over what they want to do. More options than what we had in Warhammer 2, many from 3 Kingdoms. So, next up we have quest battles. That's normal battles out of the way. Quest battles, for when you just have to get the latest snazzy sword or particularly fancy hat for your legendary lord, or on other special occasions. Quest battles are still here and still great. If you're picturing what you saw in Warhammer 2, you've got the right idea. Bigger, better, more interesting designs, rather, and with several survival battles taking the place of what would have been story battles in the past. But overall, the same theme. So that's good. I also hope that they redo some of the older battles in a big way. I really hope they do a pass on the older stuff, just because a lot of the very much older quest battles are just balanced so differently. You know, the Warhammer 1 quest battles compared to the Warhammer 2 quest battles, the Warhammer 2 ones feel like a fun little battle. You know, they can have moments of tension. All the Warhammer 1 battles, if you've unlocked that quest, you have an army that's far and away too good for that quest. Every single time, it is a walk in the park. Even sometimes, like recently, I played a Bretonnia campaign, which you may have seen. Final battle, I practically walked it in. You know, it was like there wasn't even a goalkeeper. Just walked it in. It was pathetic. No resistance whatsoever. You know, they just gave me the win. So it's just ridiculous. And that was the final battle to defeat Chaos. Right, before the invasion, to preempt the invasion and wipe out all the champions of Chaos. Pathetic. It was so easy. So I really hope they do that. So Warhammer 3, I hope is more challenging, you know, the quest battles and things, but also I hope at some point they do a pass on the older stuff and, zhuzh them up a bit, because flipping heck, it's too easy. Really just sucks me out, you know, sort of kills the immersion when just my neighbour acting up a bit is more of a problem than the Chaos invasion, you know. So, anyway. So, survival battles. The powerful dessert of our Warhammer 3 meal is the survival battle. These are climactic, mighty fights against the forces of Chaos, right on their home turf that form the peak of the narrative, plus the largest battles we've ever made in Total War. Yeah, it would be. Wow, it's a big boast. You know, they're sort of known for their big battles, don't you know? So we've discussed them at length with media, influencers, and in our own content. I was one of those influencers. Oh, they mentioned me. That link's probably not to me, though. I'm not even going to click it. No, I'm going to pretend it's me. So, but here we're going to give every detail we possibly can. If you're completely unfamiliar, the basics are that you, with your most powerful army, attack one of the strongholds of Chaos deep within their own realm. As you progress, you can use a new system of supplies to do everything from constructing barricades and towers around key capture points to reinforcing your troops, replenishing health and ammo, or upgrading their stats. As you push deeper, stronger and stronger waves of demons will crash upon you, and you will need to use every asset at your disposal to hold them back and reach your goal. Every faction has access to every survival battle. Even mighty Skalbrand will need to prove his mettle and dominance before Khorne. For he cares not from whence the blood flows, so long as it flows. The same is true of each demon lord and their patrons, as they seek the ultimate power that lurks at the heart of the realm of Chaos. Very cool. I do like that. So, mirror matches, it sounds like, which sounds interesting, for sure. I like the sound of that. You know, helps break up variety is good. Variety good. Yeah, good. But why would a nation like Kislev, the bulwark against Chaos, suddenly dare to invade these hellish domains? That goes for all factions. One does not simply walk into the realm of chaos. A famous quote, maybe. So, since the first game of the trilogy, creating a narrative has been a strong pillar, and one that has been improved upon for each game. So, it got improved upon once, and now we'll see. But it does sound like they're leaning more into the story stuff, which is brilliant. I love that. Okay, as a Warhammer RPG fan more than tabletop, then yeah, I want that. Okay, I want the world building, and story is the best way to do that world building in a Total War game. So it sounds great. So let's see. Warhammer 3's story is an absolute epic, giving each faction a strong motivation for doing what they need to do, even if that means expeditions to fight the Chaos Gods on their own doorsteps. Such incursions are not free of consequence, do not break the law, and the campaign narrative gives it proper context. We'll speak more about this once we've revealed more. That is something as well that I think they want to clarify, that it's not law breaking, because a lot of people seem to be hung up on this. Like it's a sandbox, it's doing its own thing, and that's a good thing. Warhammer is famous for breaking its own law. Every new edition decides to retcon stuff and mix things about. It's not a problem, you know, as long as it's upholding the sort of the general rules of the setting, then great, okay? Give me original stories. I don't care if it contradicts anything else. Sounds great. Just give me unique stories that I can experience. That's what I want. You know, that's what these games are for, in my opinion. It's like every time you start a campaign, you're rewriting history, so screw it, right? So, anyway, we'll speak more about this once we've revealed more. That'll be when they reveal it, no? We'll speak about it once we've revealed more. No, revealing more would be speaking about it. No? Anyway, I'm being pedantic. So, you start survival battles much as you might a quest battle, with your customised stack of units from campaign, your legendary lord at the fore. However, you also have a pool of reinforcements that can be gradually brought in by spending supplies, which is determined by that legendary lord. Catherine might have access to more Ice Guard and Ice Witches, while Castaltin has more Kossars and Dervishes. Your access to this reinforcement pool is scaled by how far you've pushed into the Chaos Realm, giving you more reasons to move forward. From this moment, it is almost entirely up to you how you conduct the battle. Supplies are gained steadily, and each capture point on your way to ultimate victory will increase the potential and power of their spending. Reinforcements. As mentioned, the reinforcements in campaign are available depending on your legendary lord. When you play these battles through custom or multiplayer lobbies, you can create your own pools. The only limit here is the funds. So that sounds good. I like that. Offers some flexibility. This allows you to bring in new, fresh units to keep you fighting fit. It also allows you to withdraw your units to the reinforcement pool, allowing them to heal up and return to the fight. Even units that are completely wiped out will be added back to the pool over time. Such is the magic of the Realm of Chaos and the scale of the engagement you are undertaking. Which units you can bring into the fight will depend on how many capture points you have taken, scaling by cost and tier of the unit. Replenishments. These are cheaper effects that let you counteract a situation or buff a unit on an individual temporary basis. It might allow you to heal and resurrect entities in a unit or refill their ammunition. You can also restore stamina and magical power, reduce cooldowns, or inspire the hearts of a faltering unit to remain in the fight. These will be more expensive for higher tier, more powerful units like lords, while lower tier units can be kept fighting fit at a fraction of the cost. How you use this is up to you. Upgrades. Every unit also has a set of upgrades available, 3 tiers each for the various armour, weapons, shields and missiles. Again, the more powerful the base unit, the higher the cost of upgrading, but the more valuable the upgrade. The choice is up to you how many supplies you spend on upgraded arms and armour for your forces, or if you spend elsewhere. The third tier of an upgrade will always have an even more significant power boost, providing an extra stat that isn't altered by the other tiers and making it well worth it, but the cost is significant. So this I do like the sound of. The fact that you can sort of augment units in more unique ways, because there's going to be a heck of a lot of units in the game in total. They even said that when you know they're ready to release the combined map and everything, all the other factions will be able to play this. In fact, they say that in this blog post. I've spoiled that, sorry, but the idea that they've got these unique upgrades for like everything is cool. I really like that. That's a lot of fuss. But it sounds like it'd be interesting to see. So, we would never expect someone to have tier 3 upgrades on everything in their army unless they brought in a force specifically designed to do that. Perhaps all bloodthirsters or dragons, which aren't going to need ammo replenishment and so on. It's player choice and is down to the asymmetry of the faction you've taken in. There's a lot behind this, it's open to the player's interpretation, which sounds great to me. Buildings. Perhaps the biggest, most complicated and most interesting part of survival battles is the ability to deploy buildings mid-battle that can assist your forces and rain death on your enemies. These come in two main themes: towers and barricades, with various subclasses within those. So, from the barricades you have blockers. So, the barricades and towers, I didn't really look into all that much when I was playing the demo, because I found barricades were a bit rubbish. I was better off just blocking with my own units, because my own units could kill everything. Provided I was using the correct units to do so. So it just felt like a waste of money to me. I felt it was better just to not bother to build a barricade that tended to just get destroyed, and I could just use that to heal my unit. So I found it wasn't worth the supplies personally, but of course, very early build, and you know, balance will change by the time this game is released. Certainly it will. You know, there's no denying that it will definitely change. We are months from launch still. Presumably we're months from launch. I actually have no idea. They haven't told us when it's out yet, but, you know, it's already been months since the battle demo. So, anyway, so blockers, the most basic type of barricade, stopping enemy troops and requiring a decent amount of damage to be taken down and bypass. Platforms allow you to place units on them, meaning they can shoot over your own troops and be far out of reach from retaliation. Monuments provide a buff in a radius unique to each faction, which increases their fighting prowess. So that is something that maybe I would do, that I would want to get, depending on the area of effect of that buff, and how much of my own, how many of my own units will be benefiting from it. But, you know. And finally, traps, to debuff enemy troops, damaging or otherwise harming them. So again, you know, a combination of those could be very beneficial, help you sort of tip something in your, you know, really in your favour. But I don't know. I just find, yeah, I don't know. It's a long way out, so who knows? Who knows how useful that stuff will be. Towers I did find useful, because they shot stuff. So if there's something a bit scary that turned up, I could soften it up. So that was infinitely useful, you know? It just was always netting value. So, towers are more powerful than siege towers you might be used to from Warhammer 2, the power of the Realm of Chaos. And by siege towers, I think it means the towers that you'd have in a siege, so like the walls defences, rather than siege towers that don't attack anything. They just wheel up to walls. I don't think he actually means those. I think he means the towers from siege battles. You with me? Good, good. Anyway, so these gives you the option to really camp out at a control point, gathering resources for your next big push, upgrading key units, or simply enjoying the slaughter. Ah, good old slaughter. So the massive difference between this and previous custom-built defences in prior Total War games is that you're now given more placement options, the ability to construct these outside of the deployment phase, multiple type options, and if you want to dismantle them to retain some resources. And if you want to dismantle them to retain some resources, it's a big part of it. It's constantly adapting to the battle that you're in, much more reactive. So yeah, that all sounds good. Although I would actually like to see more deployables in Warhammer. I think that'd be pretty good. I think that'd be lovely to see, like really good generally. Like if you're in like in camp stance, if you could just put up a few little barricades, you know, in a land battle. But then they haven't told us about siege battles and things yet, so you never know. You know, maybe there'll be specific siege equipment you can deploy outside of the usual, you know, battering ram or siege tower. So don't know. Maybe they'll put more deployable stuff in, because clearly they've got a system where they can inject stuff with collision into a map, you know. So, don't know. So, co-op and custom battles. Finally, we're letting you play survival battles outside the campaign. This allows them to be undertaken in up to 4-player co-op, which sounds like a lot of fun. I imagine it'll be a bit like free-for-alls, where there'll be like a fun novelty for a while, which is good enough for me, honestly. Just a fun novelty while we wait for, you know, the game to be fleshed out, wait for the combined map, all the rest of it. Sounds wonderful. So, up to 4-player co-op with different factions if you wish. Want to conquer the realm of Khorne with an army of your 3 best friends and every demon faction? You can do that. Once a combined map for all 3 games is available, you will also be able to bring every faction in the game into survival battles to see how the Empire, Greenskins, Lizardmen, or anyone else you like matches up against the Chaos Gods. This sounds so fun, right? Really cool. So we're also introducing new systems that transfer control of units in multiplayer battles when players disconnect, meaning you aren't left with a cut-down force if your friend's internet goes out. So one thing I am hoping is that, whether it's just simply assigned to the enemy's capital or something, each of the demon factions, if it's just assigned to their capital or something, I would like to see survival battles playable in campaign by every faction. I think that should just be like a staple. If you're invading, the territory of one of the Chaos Gods, that you should have that. That's what I think. Otherwise, you're not really making a dent in them, right? You kind of got to go their turf. So, I don't know. I'd like to see that, but I wonder if it'll be more the Vortex, the race for the Vortex, where like it's its own thing. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I hope they allow that to happen in campaign, because it's such an interesting concept that I would like to see that, just add flavour to all of the factions in the game. It'd be a shame if they didn't, but hopefully they'll work out a way to do that. But I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. But fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, guys. So also finally, let you play solo campaign. Blah blah blah. Do that. Every game matches up against Chaos Gods. There we go, I found where I am. Hooray! So, we're also introducing new systems to transfer control of units in multiplayer battles when players disconnect, meaning you aren't left with a cut-down force if your friend's internet goes out. This was always really annoying. It's always a real shame when that happened. And transferring control of units in multiplayer battles, I'm assuming it just means if your friend drops out, then all of those troops are just moved over to an ally, rather than, disappearing. Because they used to just vanish. Just go, okay, well, they're all gone because the guy's left, which is a bit silly. It's a bit odd, The AI could have taken control of them or something, I would have thought, but apparently that wasn't a thing. But I do hope there's a way for people to reconnect to a battle, and for them to be able to get their units back. I hope, but who knows? Who knows? This is a step in the right direction at the very least. So, make Total War. Phew, that was a lot. Hopefully there's more than a few tidbits in there that fascinate you and get you excited to fight in the realms of chaos. We'll be back soon enough with details on siege improvements and minor settlement battles, as well as any additional details we can wrangle out of the dev team on everything they're doing to make Total War Warhammer 3 the best game ever. Brilliant. Sounds good. I was hoping it'd be the best game ever. I hope every game is the best game ever, honestly. Can always hope, right? I'm an optimist. But no, things are looking great so far. So hopefully they'll live up to that. But good to aim high. So a lot of cool stuff there. And honestly, I'm more intrigued by them talking about siege improvements and minor settlement battles. Honestly. Because, minor settlement battles currently are just land battles. Which is a bit boring. So I would like to see something there. And also, siege battles as well. Details on siege improvements. So, generally, I'm of a mind that I much prefer the sort of Total War Warhammer siege battles to that of any other Total War game, and you can fight me on that. I'm fine. I'm completely, in that category. I prefer it. I hate having these battles where my army feels insignificant compared to the size of the city that I'm fighting. I like the fact that my army and the enemy's army are in a small part of the city, and that's just the main part of the city. That's where the battle has come to, right? And that's what we're fighting over. That way it feels like everyone's actually turned up to battle, rather than some people just climbing a wall randomly that no one's noticed. That I find a bit annoying. But yeah, I like that it's only a section of the map. I know there are issues with it. Of course, things like the enemy not bothering to actually utilise a load of its troops, like usually flying units will just sit in the city square and never go to the battle, and then they lose to army losses before they even, do anything. So usually just kill everything on the walls and you win, which again feels a bit weird, right, when they have perfectly good units lying in reserve. There's some weird issues like that, but and the doors as well, the gates being very bugged, constantly opening, and then you can't attack them, but you also can't walk through them because they open the gate, you didn't open the gate, and unless everyone's a vampire, I guess, unless you're invited, you can't come in. Although, I guess if there is no door, then technically you're outside, in which case you can walk through. I don't know how vampires work. I haven't met any. But yeah, so I don't know. There's things that can be improved, but to me it just feels like bugs, not like the design is wrong, you know what I mean? But like I said, more deployables and things I think would be really fun. I would like to see something in that vein, or sort of more elegantly tiered siege battles, like the fort battles. I really like those maps because you can actually deploy in different stages and they're all within range of each other. So you can actually have archers on the secondary walls that can shoot enemies that have just climbed up onto the first ones. So you get these cool overlapping things. I like that. I like that very much. So more of that, but the general premise of here's a section of the city to fight over, I like that. Keeps it more focused on the action rather than, you know, giving people the run around half a, you know, around a giant city. Like, yeah, I find that tedious. But anyway, that's more what I'm excited about, honestly. Everything else we've heard is mostly talking about, is mostly clarification, honestly. Like I said earlier, I think they're just doing this because people are a bit hung up on these battles, you know, on the survival battles, maybe being the only battles, which of course is silly. So I think it's mostly for clarity there. But yeah, a few things. Auto-resolve is a good one. There's some cool stuff here. So let me know what you guys thought was exciting. And yeah, I'll be back with more news soon, I'm sure. Although, the next thing that might be on the channel, for all I know, could be the Warhammer 2 DLC. It could be, because that is approaching. And I am actually taking a bit of a break before then. I am going to be taking it easy. Because, yes, I had a month off, like a couple months ago, but that's because I was ill. It's not a holiday, you know? I didn't feel rested afterwards. I felt capable to work again. It's not really the same, you know? It's not a holiday. So, yeah, so I'm going to take it easy this week. And, yeah, hopefully, because it's usually a couple of weeks we get, hopefully by sometime, you know, next week or the week after, I'll be nice and rested, and I'll be able to start churning out a bunch of new content to show you guys. That's the hope. That's the dream. So, fingers crossed, everybody, and yeah, I guess I'll see you then. So, guys, if you still haven't pre-ordered Warhammer 3 and you plan to, then nexus.gg/Janet is the place to get it, because it helps out my channel much more than Google's ad revenue ever does. So, you know, it helps me keep the lights on. And I don't want to be in the dark. It's scary. I stubbed my toes. So, yeah, catch you in the next one, I guess. Comment, like, subscribe. Toodaloo. Take care, guys.